Hey, today I'm speaking with Ray Hearne, drummer for British proggers Haken. The band has a new album coming out named Affinity on Inside Out Records. Thanks for taking the time to talk with We Love Metal today.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Hey, Ray, I've had a couple of listens to Affinity. It's a pretty long album. It feels like a step forward for the band, but it undoubtedly has your sound.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it's logical to be a step forward from the last album. I mean, since The Mountain, what was that? Well, that was September 2013, so
Yep.
a good 2 or so years, 2 and a bit years. So I mean, in that time, we've taken on a lot of new influences. You know, we've done some really cool tours, checked out some really great new bands and old bands alike. So, you know, we're constantly sort of absorbing as much as we can when we're not writing and when we are writing. So naturally, the music is going to sort of take another step, hopefully in the right direction.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I think we've still managed to maintain the sort of elements that kind of make our music what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Ross is certainly a distinct vocalist, and the musical style just there's something about it. And you talked about the writing process. Do they let you get into the writing process as the drummer? I'm always curious about that because I played drums for many, many years. It's like, oh, there's the drummer. Okay, got it. And
yeah. Yeah, well, actually, I mean, going off topic a little bit, perhaps, the drums were like the last instrument I took up, and before then I was playing piano and I was playing brass instruments, so
okay.
I would say I've got quite a broad and sort of more classical musical background before I even sort of ventured into the sort of rock side of things. So for me, I feel like I'm quite glad and quite happy that I sort of have that element to my sort of musicianship, I suppose. No, I mean the writing process on this album has been very collaborative indeed. I think I myself wrote maybe a couple of songs on the album in collaboration with a couple of other guys, and you know, everyone sort of contributes fairly equally to the musical and the lyrical pot of ideas, and yeah, it just makes for a much more diverse set of songs, and I think you'll definitely notice that on listening to the album. You know, it's definitely our most diverse album musically and probably lyrically. So, yeah, hopefully a good thing.
Yeah, musically certainly. A song that really caught my ear is 1985. You know, you get the 80s era electric drums going there. Thought I was watching Miami Vice or something like that. And then what really hit me, I think, and I don't know if people will agree with this or not, but I hear a big Yes influence in that song.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So I'm not just making that up.
Yeah, obviously 80s era Yes. I mean, we've got influences from all parts of Yes's career, and you know, a lot of the other big classic sort of prog bands. I mean, Genesis as well. They you know, they kind of, and obviously to an extent Phil Collins on his own solo stuff. But a lot of those bands, you know, they had this sort of 80s era sound that was completely different from when they started off. King Crimson's another great example.
Sure.
And yeah, we've definitely sort of moved much more towards that decade, in particular with this song, as opposed to, you know, in the past where we've taken inspiration from those bands in their sort of 70s. I guess you could call their sort of, well, I wouldn't say their heyday but the sort of classic era, I guess, classic.
Right. Yeah, because they certainly had a different sound. You know, when I think of 80s, Yes, it's the Big Generator album and that kind of sound, and
yeah,
it really kind of woke me up. I said, "Whoa, that's what I'm hearing." I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the beginning of the song,
Yeah.
for me anyway, it straight away sort of it invokes, you know, the opening of "Owner of a Lonely Heart," and that whole sort of the big drum sounds and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of fun more than anything, because we love that kind of sound, if you can call it that, and we have tried to sort of go down that road on a couple of other occasions, but not so sort of explicitly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. But we thought, you know what? I mean, the song's basically. I mean, we sort of we settled on the title 1985, but we thought, well, we might as well, you know, go all the way and definitely rip out some really blatant sections, but hopefully make it still flow within the rest of the song rather than just suddenly going off course. It goes off course, but it goes off course in a sort of fun and coherent way, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not okay. Stop, and we're going to do this now. It certainly flows. So.
Yeah. Hopefully.
One of the most challenging songs I thought on the album was The Architect. You know, it's a very long song, but how did that whole thing come about?
Interestingly, actually, that song was went through a ton of different versions. It kind of started off as a fairly straight ahead metal song, and it kind of was born from the section that kind of starts maybe 1 or 2 minutes in, the kind of almost like a metal ballad that then just kicks into this really heavy tune. But Charlie was responsible for that song, more or less. You know, he sort of wrote most of the music and the lyrics for it. And one day he just presented us with this crazy intro. He was just like, guys, you know, this song isn't quite what I want it to be yet, but just check out this intro that I've written. And the intro was, you know, this complete mad instrumental workout of all this crazy stuff going on. We thought, wow, you know, if we can work this in and still make it, you know, join up with the rest of the song. And then yeah, later on as well, we sort of bring back that really sort of crazy, more technical, perhaps more familiar Haken sound, instrumentally comes back towards the end. But yeah, it's a very, I see what you mean about it being a challenging song. I mean, it's definitely not an easy listening sort of.
Oh no, you definitely have to give it undivided attention.
Yeah.
I think my favorite song so far is "The Endless Knot," and it sounds like you're having a pretty good time on that with the odd time signatures and just the way you play on that. I gotta think you enjoyed playing on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's kind of the song. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I mean, so that song I wrote sort of the majority of that around, I don't know, around sort of January of last year, February time, and it sort of came about from, I was just listening to loads of this crazy piano player called Tigran Hamasyan. I don't know if you've come across him, but his music is crazy, but it's great. It's really sort of rhythm heavy stuff. And I don't know, I was just listening to his latest album, and I thought, we have to get this element into our music. And so I kind of came out with that crazy opening section. But then naturally it sort of became perhaps a bit more sort of, it kind of ended up sounding a bit more like a sort of Muse song, perhaps, because I used to listen to a lot of Muse as well when I was in my teens. So it's kind of like it's like a sort of poppy, dancey thing, element, sort of, you know, mixed with this kind of metal sound. But no, it's definitely a favourite of ours as well. We're really looking forward to playing that one live.
All right, good. That's always a good thing to hear is when, you know, a fan has a favorite song and a band says, "Oh yeah, we're going to play that one live." So
yeah,
can they pull it off or not? So I have little doubt that you can pull that off. So, well, you kind of already mentioned your musical background going back into piano and brass instruments. What kind of made you make that transition from that into heavier music?
Well, I wouldn't really call it a transition. I would just
that might
say
be too strict of a word, but what led you into, you know, metal and heavier stuff?
Well, it was partly just through friends at school. One of my best mates at school was actually the old keyboardist of Haken. So that's how I got into the band, because he was kind of in an earlier lineup of the band, and we used to listen to tons of prog, tons of metal, and lots of rock as well. You know, in our teens and in our school years, and played in loads of bands together. I mean, so I got into the drums when I was about 12 or 13, just because I was listening to all this music and I just wanted to play it all. And then, it just became something that I did sort of in parallel with my sort of classical music side of things, which I then went on to sort of study at university level. So while I was doing the sort of classical thing, while I was at uni, Haken was, we were writing the first 2 albums, and sort of playing in Europe and playing in the US for our first time. But yeah, it's always been something that's the two sort of worlds have always kind of been in parallel, sort of a dual musical career, I suppose you could call it.
Okay, yeah, maybe even based on the musical work that I've heard is that they've kind of meshed. So that's a good thing. All right. Hey, outside of music, what do you like to do? What, hobbies, interests, anything like that?
Yeah, well, I've always kind of been worried about being asked that kind of question, because whenever I think about myself in that way, I always think I'm such an obsessive musician, and I kind of, all I do, if I'm not doing the classical stuff, then I'm doing Haken stuff, and if Haken's doing, having a quiet patch, then I'm doing classical stuff. But I'm big into sort of outdoor sport. Oh, I mean, most sports are outdoors, but sort of like extreme sports. Big into skiing.
Okay.
Over the last few months, actually, just since January, I've got really into bouldering. In fact, I was bouldering earlier today.
Okay. What does that mean in American English? Like rock climbing?
Yeah, bouldering is like a form of rock climbing.
Okay.
And there's a place near me which I've just been going to loads since January, because I get a bit obsessive, basically. I find something that I like and I just do it to death until I can do it really well, and then I might move on to something else. But that's my sort of big thing at the moment outside of music.
All right, cool. Yeah, definitely like the outdoors. Kind of tough sometimes where we live, in the winter especially, but that's okay.
Whereabouts are you actually? I don't think you said.
Chicago.
Oh no, you did. Chicago. Sorry.
Yeah,
you did.
It's actually been a pretty mild winter here, though, given the last few years. So,
right.
All right, back. We'll veer away from that personal stuff then. Back to music. Tell me about one of your most memorable live music experiences.
Ooh, most memorable live music experience.
And it could be memorable for any number of reasons. So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I mean, there's so many. What would be a really good one? Well, I mean, last July, we had the amazing honour to support Dream Theater and Devon Townsend in Cologne in Germany, just for a one-off show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just incredible for us. We couldn't believe that we got that gig. Just a one-off show, but being able to just play, watch these guys sound check and then come on and set up your gear in front of Devin's drummer Ryan and in front of the other, Mike Mangini's kit, huge, and then there's just little old me on this tiny little kit, and to open for sort of their crowds was just amazing. And we had a similar experience a couple of years before then when we played at the Night of the Prog festival, also in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that was just a crazy experience because we were sort of opening this festival, and then later that night, Dream Theater were headlining, and we've been sort of compared a lot to Dream Theater, I think, in the past, but I mean, they're definitely a very common influence for all of us. But it's just it's amazing to be able to play with them.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I can't make that connection, just a very obvious connection, other than it's prog metal. But I'm sure Devin was, and I've had the chance to speak with him too. A pretty amazing musician. So.
Yeah, absolutely, lovely guy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have played some dates in North America. How does it look for touring here in support of Affinity?
Well, we're coming over to play at Prog Power USA in September.
Been there? No.
Sorry?
I've been to Prog Power several times. So.
Great. Yeah, well, I mean, that was our first. Yeah, no, it's awesome. That was our first sort of experience of playing in the US when we were there back in 2011, I think it was. But I mean, back to that memorable gigs thing, that was, definitely another one for us. Being able to go over to the US and play for the first time was awesome. But that was just a one-off show. We were over in the US last year, sort of April, May time.
Right.
So we're sorry?
No, right. I missed that tour coming through, but I remember that you guys were here for a short time.
Yeah, so we're definitely hoping to build a tour around this, around our appearance at Prog Power USA. So yeah, if we can do something similar to the last tour, plus maybe add some more dates, maybe try and get over to the West Coast as well, that'd be awesome. But yeah, there's definitely talk for a US tour.
All right, good.
In sort of September time, I think. Yeah.
We'll keep our eyes open for that one.
Great.
Okay, Ray. Last question for you. Our website is called We Love Metal. Why do you love metal?
Why do I love metal? Because it's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't make any doesn't hold anything back. It's, it has the potential to just be some of the most full on and powerful and sort of balls to the wall sort of music you're ever likely to hear. I mean, obviously it's such a huge genre, but that's one of the great things I love about metal. It's just it's like a outlet of I don't know, pent up energy. If you go and see us play live, if you go and see me drum with Haken, whenever it gets to the really heavy metal stuff, unfortunately I don't have any hair, but it gives me the chance to really let my hair down. That's what I love about metal, definitely.
All right, great.
They have a broad answer.
I always love to get that insight, and a lot of us say the same thing. It's energy. It's very powerful. So. Thanks for taking the time today. Listeners, be sure to check out Affinity. It's a fantastic album.
Thank you.
Super impressed all the way through. There certainly are some softer moments, but there's some pretty heavy stuff on there too.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Great.